It was supposed to be a simple farewell party, a quiet evening in Khartoum, Sudan. Diplomats gathered at the Saudi embassy. Smiles, handshakes, conversations about the future. Curt was just days away from heading home. No one in that room knew they were only hours away from history. On March 1, 1973, 8 armed members of the Palestinian group Black September stormed the embassy. Within minutes, the celebration turned into chaos. Gunshots, shouting, hostages taken. Among them were U.S. Ambassador Cleo Noel and Deputy Chief of Mission George Curt. Also captured were Belgian diplomat Guy Eid, the Jordanian chargé d'affaires, and the Saudi ambassador. The terrorists had demands, sweeping, impossible demands. They called for the release of Palestinian prisoners. They demanded the freedom of Sirhan Sirhan, the assassin of Robert F. Kennedy. And they gave a deadline, 24 hours. If their demands were not met, the hostages would die. The next day, President Richard Nixon addressed the nation. The United States, he said, would not negotiate with terrorists. Behind closed doors, the clock kept ticking. Inside the embassy, the hostages waited. Families thousands of miles away had no idea what was about to happen. Then came the order. Noel and Eid were told to write farewell letters to their wives. Imagine that moment, sitting at a desk, knowing time is running out, trying to find the right words for the people you love, knowing they may be your last. What happened next was brutal. The 3 men were beaten, tortured, then shot to death. Their bodies left as proof that the threat was real. 3 days later, the surviving hostages were released. The gunmen surrendered, but justice would feel incomplete. At trial in Sudan, 2 of the attackers were acquitted. The others were sentenced to just 7 years in prison. Soon after, they were handed over to the PLO and sent to Egypt. They were held briefly under house arrest in a mansion and then quietly released. The reaction in the United States was swift. Diplomatic relations with Sudan were severed. Foreign aid was suspended for nearly 3 years, but no political action could undo what had happened. Guy Eid was 38 years old. He was chosen for execution because the terrorists mistakenly believed he was Jewish. Ambassador Cleo Noel was 54. A World War II veteran, a career diplomat who had devoted his life to service. Curt was 47. A husband, a father of 2, a 23-year veteran of the Foreign Service. He was days away from returning home. Moore and Noel were buried side by side in Arlington National Cemetery. The photograph taken just hours before the attack shows Moore and Noel standing beside their wives. They are smiling, relaxed, unaware. It's haunting to look at, because sometimes history doesn't begin with explosions. Sometimes it begins with a quiet room, a farewell reception, and a door suddenly bursting open. The attack in Khartoum remains one of the darkest moments in American diplomatic history. A reminder that the men and women who represent the United States abroad carry unseen risks, and that sometimes service comes at the highest possible cost.